Is it time to make a move for Durant, or is it time to move on? Oh, it is. It is a Friday episode of the Donno Drop here on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Friday, bros. We almost made it. The weekend is almost here. This is going to be a working weekend for me. I'm going to be co-hosting Dolphins pregame tomorrow on 560 with Kevin Rogers. I'm filling in for Rondé Gadsden. I love it how very first preseason game that he's working and he's already taken a vacation, OG. So OG is going to be out tomorrow. I'm stepping in. I'm going to be hosting post game as well, which I think is going to go on till like 2 a.m. So it's going to be a working Saturday for me. Hopefully a very restful Sunday. Hopefully you guys are doing well and have had a really, really good week so far. We are going to be talking some NBA, some Kevin Durant. Brady Hawk is going to join us in about 3 minutes. Hardest working man on the Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm getting a little tired of this Kevin Durant saga. I had thought up until 3 days ago that it was just going to end up KD staying with Brooklyn for the foreseeable future because I didn't think KD had the balls to escalate the situation and to actually make some sort of a demand, like a strong demand. Like he requested a trade, like over a month ago at this point, hadn't issued any sort of an ultimatum or a strong demand. I didn't think he was going to do it. I thought that KD would just end up kind of putting the tail between the legs and, okay, if they don't want to trade me, I'll play. But then he comes out and bashes management and issues an ultimatum this past Tuesday. So I just want to know where Miami stands because I'm getting tired of watching KD. I'm getting tired of every time I open up any of my favorite NBA news sites and blogs, it's KD this, KD that. What's Durant going to do? I just want some sort of resolution here. At the same time, I definitely don't want him to end up in Boston. That wouldn't be fun. I mean, the Heat were a shot away from knocking the Celtics out of the playoffs last year. I don't want the Celtics to get way better, by adding one of the best basketball players in the world. And there was a report that originally, when the Nets and Celtics first started talking about Durant, that the Nets were asking for both Tatum and Brown for KD. You got to hand it to the Nets. Like they're trying to get an unrealistic return for as good as Durant is. He's in his 30s. He's on the back nine. And they want to get so much in return for him that if their demands are met by whatever team acquires him, that team will somehow even be worse after acquiring KD than they were before acquiring KD because the Nets are asking for everyone's firstborn, right, in return for him. So I want to see what the people are saying out there. And by the way, guys, whether you're watching us live at 3:29 p.m. here on Friday, August the 12th, year of our Lord 2022, or if you're watching us later on Five Reasons Sports YouTube via replay, do us a couple of solids, my friends. Smash that like button. Hit the thumbs up button because I'm insecure. I need to see the likes to know that, by God, they like me. People like me. If you smash the dislike, I will come to your house and I will, I'll offer you strongly worded criticism on how you do your job if you want to criticize me and how I do mine. So smash that like button and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are so inclined, you can leave us something in the tip jar in the super chat, but the live chat, it's free. If you want to leave us something, go ahead and do it. The little super chat button. If you don't, that's fine too. So we will, we will keep chatting with you, friends. Celtics need to stop treating JB like a sidekick. Listen, it's going to happen when you have an opportunity to acquire someone like Kevin Durant. How many times has Tyler Hero been hypothetically traded? Like 1,000 times? Oh my goodness. All right. So let's bring in very good friend of the show, hardest working man on the Five Reasons Sports Network. He is all over fivereasonsports.com. He's all over Five on the Floor. He's all over Twitter with the Brady breakdowns. Brady Hawk is joining us. Brady, do you like the offseason discourse and, talking about hypotheticals, or are you the type of guy who, you really prefer covering actual games, even preseason games? Where are you at now here in mid-August?
Oh, I hate this part of the season. I hate this part of the season. I like actual basketball. Like, I like talking about what's happening on the court. Hypotheticals are definitely not my thing, especially when you're the Miami Heat, because they're going to be linked to every hypothetical there is. Like, it doesn't matter what hypotheticals out there, they're going to be linked in some way. And I know you were just talking about the Kevin Durant stuff. Like, that's as wild as this stuff is, because it's moving so fast and or slow at the same time, because nothing's really changing. The Heat are just going to kind of be silently lurking, I guess. So it's just this doesn't. I feel like some people are like kind of naming this as an eventful offseason because there were some minor moves in different areas, but there hasn't been a ton of movement, at least in the past few weeks, I guess. So it's a little bit of a weird one for me.
Yeah, and okay, so how much do you think the situation changed for the Nets and Kevin Durant after, his ultimatum on Tuesday? Did that escalate things to a point where it's more likely a deal with somebody gets done?
Definitely, I think so. I think there's just no way I think Kevin Durant can walk into training camp and high five Steve Nash and just keep walking. Like, it's just the fact that he tried to get the GM and the coach fired and he's going to walk into training camp. Like, it does not seem possible. Like, that seems like a very low chance thing, but it does seem like a high chance that he gets moved somewhere. And I don't know if that's better if you're a Miami Heat fan. Like, I think it might have been better if he stayed in Brooklyn, because that means he's probably a lot of the teams in the mix are in the East. Like, those are a lot of the teams that are being named. So when you talk about where the Heat stand, like, I feel like you don't stand a different spot than they stood 2 weeks ago. Like, I feel like they're pretty firm on what their offer is going to be. I don't think they're going to be moving into the Bam kind of giving him up, or moving into the Jimmy Butler kind of figuring those two things back. That's where the line's drawn. So I don't think anything really changes there. The things that changes is for these other teams that are now opening up to everybody, where it's may not be as much preference. Then, Kevin Durant may be willing to go to another team that wasn't on his preference list now that this stuff is kind of happening with Brooklyn.
How do you rate Steve Nash as a coach? I didn't really like him as a soccer analyst a couple years ago, so I was actually happy that he left Champions League coverage to go coach, because the guy annoyed me on TV. But how do you rate Steve Nash as an NBA coach?
I mean, I don't think he's done a good job up to this point. Like, I feel like with what Brooklyn has had as the talents and what they've kind of led to in the playoffs and different things of that nature. And then when you're talking about from a basketball perspective, like, you have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And how many times at end of games did we see this past 2 seasons where as good of two ISO players Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are, it just ends in just ISO basketball. Like, it's just not a good brand of, like, as much as people talk about, let's just say Steve Kerr, like, look how their offense runs. Like, I know how many players they have and the type of players they have, but, like, it's just a difference. It's an offense in general. And they haven't really had, I guess, the cast around those guys anyway. But I feel like if you are the owner, you have to side with the GM and the coach. Like, how do you look as an organization if you agree to a player's ordinance and you fire your GM and coach? Like, no matter what the view is on Steve Nash at this stage as a coach, you just can't really do that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I feel like people can correct me if I'm wrong, that it kind of it happened like I'm older than Brady. I mean, this wasn't that long ago. This was like, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, when Kobe, I guess, didn't, he didn't get along at that point with Phil Jackson. They later reconciled, obviously, because Phil came back and won 2 more rings there, but, like, he wasn't getting along with Phil or with Shaq. And so, like, Phil got, like, forced out, and Shaq got traded to Miami, which worked out great for us. But then, eventually they worked things out there. But that, even for a guy like Kobe, that didn't work out great, because they didn't win again until Phil Jackson came back. So it can be kind of a bad look. But as far as things go now for the Miami Heat, what are you looking at for the rest of this offseason, Brady? How did the Heat finish things out here?
It's tough because there's always the two ways that they can go. Like, do they want to fully get out of this game of somebody becoming available that we keep talking about over and over, and giving up the asset or giving up the contract to get that guy? Or do you just make the trade now and you get a 4? Because I think everybody can agree, even in this comment section, that I think they need a 4. It just comes on how do they want to do that? Like, how do they want to deal with that? But it doesn't seem at this stage that they're going in that direction, because if they were going to head in that direction, Tyler Hero would be extended right now. Like he would have his extension in hand, and that will be an indication. We can have the discussion about anything else of what could be the indicators here. That's the true indicator. When that happens, you know the direction they're going, and until that happens, it pretty much tells you that they're staying put. They feel confident with this roster. I've been kind of saying I think they definitely need a 4 because it's a really problem in a front court. But I will add that at least we've been saying they're running it back minus PJ, but they are running it back minus PJ, but plus Oladipo because they did not have him in the regular season. But it is an extra guard to slot in there once again because they can't play all these guards. They can't, and they're going to be running 3-guard lineups. They're going to be small. I know people are going to be complaining about the rebounding type stuff, but it'll be interesting to see how they dissect this. But let's just hypothetically, I guess, if they do run into the season with this roster, I think it's a high possibility. But if they can grab a 4, if they can make the Duncan type trade to get that 4, I think a lot of people would feel more confident about this roster.
How confident are you? Obviously, we'll see how the offseason finishes out, but where do you see the Heat in the hierarchy in the Eastern Conference heading into next year? Obviously they were a 1 seed last year. Maybe you don't think they can do that again, but do you think that the Heat are in about the same position they were a season ago, or has the rest of the East gotten better around them?
The East has definitely improved. Like a team like Boston, I think is shooting for that 1 seed with adding Malcolm Brogdon. Like I think that's a pretty big adjustment there. I will say I think Milwaukee and Boston are at the top of the conference. And I know you could probably throw Philly in there, but I'm not as quick to throw Philly in there. Like I think Miami is around the 3 seed. I think if you want to say 4 seed, I wouldn't say you're wrong. Like I could definitely see that happening as well because Philly could be a very good regular season team. And obviously they took a guy in PJ Tucker. But I'm not as sold on Philly there in the regular season. Like I feel like there's going to be some issues offensively. I was saying the other day, please put PJ Tucker and Matisse Thybulle on the floor together because that is just a terrible offensive combo to put out there. Like there's so many things and wrinkles to figure out with Philly, and there's unpredictable elements. But obviously they're going to have an MVP candidate in Joel Embiid. But either way, I think Miami is around a 3. My thing has been they're going to add a 4 at some point in the season. If it's before the season, if it's at the deadline, I personally think it's probably going to be at the deadline. And my other opinion is that I think they can survive to the deadline with this current roster. I really do believe that. Like, I think if they're going to do kind of power forward by committee and they're going to ride on the talents of Victor Oladipo or Tyler Hero emerging or Bam emerging, I think they can survive at that and get to that type of 3-4 seed by the deadline and then make their late season push. We saw that. I guess you compare it to the 2020 season with it before the bubble because they made that kind of adjustment at the deadline. That's what I'd kind of view that as is kind of the something to look forward to because that's probably what they're going to have to do. But that's kind of where I see them. Like I feel like Boston and Milwaukee. I think playoff time, I'm probably more worried about Milwaukee. Like I think they are the team to beat in the East in terms of playoff wise. But Boston obviously got a lot better. They just plugged a major hole. But those are pretty much the 2 teams I think that the Heat are personally probably having to worry about.
I love it. Brady Hawk is the hardest working man on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. What can people expect the rest of this week? I know that this is like even when it's a quiet time of year for you, relatively speaking, you're still working way too hard. So as far as on the website, social media, podcasting, what are you up to over the weekend into next week?
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot more 5 on the floors because we recently partnered with Fansided, so there'll be a lot more episodes
that's so
there.
Cool. Yeah.
And then also 5reasonsports.com. I'm going to be putting out a Max Strus article later today. So those are pretty much the things going on right now.
Ooh, any preview, anything you can tell us about the Strus article to kind of tease it so people know what to expect when they click later?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much in comparison to Duncan, how when he got overplayed, they basically taken him out of the offense. And we saw what happened to Duncan. It's basically trying to prepare for the overplay. And when now that people know Max Strus's name heading into next season, how does he deal with that? Because he's not going to have probably the same space that he once had.
Wow, I don't know. I don't know if this is just a compliment to Brady or an insult to me. I take this personally, Jay South. He says Brady is the only reason I'm here. Well, good. Maybe I'll have Brady on more often. Brady Hawk. You follow him on Twitter at BradyHawk305. Thank you so much for checking in.
Thank you for having me on.
I love it. Brady does fantastic work. Any relations to? I should have asked him this. Any relations to Tony Hawk? If so, he's probably pretty good on a skateboard, right? I mean, how can you be a relative of Tony Hawk and not be able to do like what do they call skateboard tricks? Triple axles, or no, it's figure skating. You got to be able to do something like that. Skateboarding, to me, the most insane sport, if you can call it that, quote unquote sport, because there's no way to get really good at it without injuring yourself often. Am I right? Like how else do you practice without trying to grind on railings and you're on concrete all the time? You fall on your face, you're breaking arms, you're breaking ankles. Like, I mean, the people who do it are certifiable. Like they're inside. Like I've talked to pro skateboarders before, interviewing them over the years, and they all have screws loose. Like they're very similar, I think, to a lot of MMA fighters, and sometimes even crazier than that, because in order to get really good at that sport, to be able to do all the tricks and the spins, and you're practicing on concrete all the time, like there's no way to do it without seriously injuring yourself often as you do that. So if Brady is into that, God bless him and power to him. Speaking of making money, I know we weren't speaking of that, but we are now. Speaking of making money, smooth segue. Want to remind you guys, we have some awesome sponsors here on Donno Daily and on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Our daily fantasy sponsor. Now that you have football on the horizon, you've got preseason games going on, and you can make selections in preseason, bros. You can. Major League Baseball going strong, international soccer going strong now. The European leagues are all back. PrizePicks.com and the PrizePicks mobile app. Guys, if you're not using PrizePicks, you're not doing daily fantasy right. They make it so easy. They are revolutionizing the daily fantasy space. All you have to do is make selections, 2, 3, or 4 players, and predict if they're going to go over or under their fantasy projections. It is you versus the numbers. You don't have these crooked algorithms that some of the other daily fantasy sports site have. It is you versus the numbers on PrizePicks. It combines my love for daily fantasy and for parlays. You can win 10 times your money getting 4 predictions correct. Double your money on 2 predictions. It's so easy to sign up and so easy to deposit. You go to prizepicks.com or the PrizePicks mobile app, and when you make your first deposit, use our code 5, F-I-V-E. You have to spell it out. Use our code F-I-V-E 5, and they're going to match your first deposit 100% up to $100. How good is that? PrizePicks truly is daily fantasy simplified. And we also have an awesome sports betting sponsor. You see it on the crawl down there. BetterEdge.com, BETTOR Edge.com. And same deal, guys. International soccer going on, Major League Baseball. The NBA is going to be here before you know it. NFL football, college football is right around the corner. You want to be using the new sports betting solution. This is fully legal in 45 states, including the state of Florida. At BetterEdge.com, it's a social platform. You can take whatever number you want. You want the Marlins plus 4.5. You want the Dolphins play a preseason game tomorrow. They're actually favored by a point at Tampa. Maybe you want Dolphins plus 1 instead of Dolphins minus 1. You lock that number in and you play with someone else on the end of it. And what I love about BetterEdge.com is, and I think this is one of the things that makes it very unique, there are no hidden fees. There's no juice, right? Because they're not run by a big casino. They make their money through advertisements on the website. You don't have to lock in minus 110 or minus 120 on something where you're not making your full money back. It's a hidden fee. That's not the case at BetterEdge.com because they're not run by a casino. Fully legal in 45 states. So there's nothing shady about putting your money in or taking your money out. This is not an offshore situation. Try it out with our referral link. You see our referral link below, betteredge.com/5 reasons. Go to that URL, betteredge.com/5 reasons, and they're going to give you a $20 referral bonus. Free money just for signing up. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, Shake Money. Thank you for the money. He says, I used to hate the Canes. Now, because of you, I just dislike them. Thanks for the great content to cap up my work week. Oh, Shake that and Shake Money is a Gator fan. So anytime a Gator fan will tell me, because I'm a Cane maniac and I host Locked on Canes every single day. Anytime a Gator fan, our bitter hated rivals, will tell me because of you, I only dislike the Canes. I don't hate them. That is the ultimate compliment. And people, I know some really good Gator fans, guys. Shake Money seems like salt of the earth, great dude. The guy who does Locked On Gators, Brandon Olson, seems like a really great guy. We converse sometimes. So it's like, man, good people like this make me want to hate your university a little bit less. They make me want to. I still despise them, but it's tempting. So thank you so much for the $5 donation. It really means a lot. Thank you, Jay South, who he's here. You know what? I was only here today because of Brady Hawk. True story. I was going to broadcast yesterday instead of today, but Brady, busy guy. He told me I can't do Thursday. I can do Friday. So I said, you know what? I can do Friday with you. So Jay was only here because of Brady. Brady was the only reason why I was here today and not yesterday. So I absolutely love that. Curry 2111, thank you so much for tuning in. Baby Rage, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me throw a couple more shout outs. Oh, I see this dude in here, Flat Earth. Now, is your screen name Flat Earth because you're really into it? Like you're really a flat earther? Or is that just like a funny, ironic thing? Because I'm not a flat earther, but I am fascinated by the philosophy because it's a rabbit hole. Once you start to kind of find the communities of people who actually believe it, and then they teach you about how the latitudes and longitudes work and how there's actually an ice wall that surrounds the entire disc-shaped earth, and people like devote their lives to this philosophy. I find it to be freaking fascinating, and I'm not the type of person to judge, right? Some of you out there, I think you need to maybe be like Aaron Rodgers and experience some hallucinogens, do like an ayahuasca trip or something and just learn how to love and learn how to let go, okay? Some of you out there are so judgmental. You hear about someone who has different views on science, different views on politics, different views on religion, and your immediate knee-jerk reaction is, that person does not think the way that I do. Therefore, I do not like that person. I don't live my life like that. I am open. There are things I believe, sure, but I am open to many different schools of thought, many different philosophies. And I do not necessarily, there are obviously lines that you can cross because if you're into certain things, it's like, okay, that person might be a problem. But for the most part, I'm open-minded enough to respect the views of others. So if you really are a flat earther, I would love to know more. I would love to know why you can't just accept that the earth is most likely round. Most likely. I haven't been to space and looked at it, but I'm willing to say that the earth is more than likely round the way that scientists say it is. So thank you so much. Miami Dolphins preseason opener tomorrow against Tampa. Tom Brady's taking a little time off. Kind of coincidental given, all the tampering news that's come out, all the links to the Dolphins, which it's never going to happen now. Like Brady's never going to be a Dolphin or a Dolphin part owner after all of this has been uncovered and exposed. But it is kind of convenient that Brady needs to take time off surrounding all this. The other big thing that happened with the Dolphins is we discovered within the last couple days, and hello Cap for Life, Stephen Ross is no longer going to keep Bruce Beal, who's Tom Brady's buddy, who was probably responsible for some of that tampering. Stephen Ross no longer has Bruce Beal as his official successor. Has there been a schism between the two? Has there been a schism over the Brady tampering? Because conveniently now, Stephen Ross wants to hand the team over to his daughter after he retires or, something happens. Because the succession plan, it's like a will. Like the NFL requires every owner to have a named successor in case they die or in case they get incapacitated. So it's a little bit morbid of a thought, but that's just an NFL requirement. So Stephen Ross had Bruce Beal, Tom Brady's bro, as his successor. He's changing it now to his daughter, Jennifer Ross, I believe her name is. And, of course, he claims, no, coincidental. This doesn't have anything to do with the tampering and the punishments, the lost draft picks and all that. This is just something I wanted to do. Like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to believe that excuse for a second, but that was a big thing that went on. So how many generations of the Ross family are we going to have to endure? Is this going to come? So Steven hands it off to Jennifer, then Jennifer hands it off to her son or daughter, and then it's like, oh, are the Dolphins ever going to win a playoff game again? They haven't won a single playoff game during the Steven Ross era. The last time, I'm glad that I'm like middle-aged and washed, because at least I was an adult the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game in 2000 season, January of 2001. That was the last time they won a playoff game. I know that some of you watching this right now are so young, like you maybe weren't born yet, like Brady Hawk wasn't born yet at that point, or you were wearing Pampers the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game. But that was before. That was like 7-8 years before the Steven Ross era even started. I hope you're right about this, Herm. Does that say Herm? My eyes are so bad now. Yeah, Herm P. Maybe Ross's daughter can do a way better job than him. It would be hard to do worse. I think the only way you could do worse than Steve Ross is if you make poor decisions and you're not willing to spend any money on the product. I think that's the only way you could. Because Steven Ross, I respect in a way. I know that obviously he hasn't done a great job because the results speak for themselves. But I can respect the fact that he's been financially committed to do whatever's necessary, right? When it comes to renovating the stadium, facilities, he's done an incredible job spending money on free agents, spending money on, coaches and like the guy's not frugal. I give him that. Like spares no expense to try to make this team better. But you've had a comedy of errors over this tampering stuff. I know that the allegations of the $100,000 were not proven, but that was out there. Bullygate was out there. The Tony Sperano, Jim Harbaugh thing, which was so poorly handled, that was out there, from 14, 15 years ago. There's just been a lot of bad decisions made. So I guess the only way you could do worse would be if you make bad decisions and you're not willing to spend money on the team. So hopefully that maybe Jennifer Ross does a much better job than Steven does, if and when she takes over in making decisions like that. But something good. I mean, the last couple days, joint practices, Dolphins and Bucs. Tua has been fine. I think that's a positive, right? I mean, I like the way that Joe Shad from the Palm Beach Post described it, where it's like, didn't blow us away, but the execution was very good. And he had like a quiet, really nice couple of days of joint practices. And you're starting to see that timing developing between Tua and Tyreek Hill, where Tua can throw it to a spot and he knows Tyreek is going to be there and Tyreek is going to snatch it and get a big chunk of yak afterwards. So they're starting to build that timing and that chemistry, because Tyreek Hill, as we know, is one of the most dangerous weapons in the National Football League. And if he and Tua can build a special connection, that's going to be tremendous for the Dolphins' results, and it's going to be tremendous for Tua's development. So I am here for it. And the Dolphins' defense has done a really nice job in these joint practices. So, I don't know how much we're going to be able to take away from the preseason game tomorrow night, because, we know Brady's not playing and Tua is likely not to play either. They're probably saving him for that second preseason game, the dress rehearsal game. He may not even get a look tomorrow. So, it's football kind of, so that we have that going for us. Cap for Life says, if the Dolphins don't win this ownership, we will become a punchline. And I think we already are a punchline in certain things. On a brighter note, I heard Skylar Thompson is doing great. By the way, Zachary B says he was -3 years old the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game. Unfreaking believable. I like this from Cap. Do you think Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira will be the match of the year? I love it. The thing about it is, Oliveira is a high. If he's going to win this fight, he's probably going to like drag him into quicksand with his ground game. So it may not end up being like an entertaining barn burner like people would hope for. Like, great matchmaking is, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, like that was guaranteed fireworks, right? Like that's like perfect matchmaking for the casual fan. Whereas Islam Makhachev, he's a protege of Habib Nurmagomedov, so you can imagine what sort of style he's going to want to win the fight with. But I think it's a tremendous fight. I don't know if it's going to be like high action fight of the year, but it could be. It could be because Oliveira is really good on his back and really good at threatening for submissions as well. I appreciate you guys stopping in. Have a wonderful weekend coming up. Enjoy the preseason football tomorrow. I mean, we've already been enjoying some preseason football already to this point. And we will talk to you again on Monday. We're going to be doing Mondays and Thursdays here on the Donno Drop. So we will talk to you then right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.